For your information, those of you who still reserve some kind of hope that the contraption called Nigeria will, in one way or the other, by one means or the other, begin to function properly, I would like you to pay attention to what we have to present to you now. Thank you very much for stopping by and welcome back to our channel. This is Nelly's TV, where we give you enlightenment that you need to make your brain function very properly and get yourself in the right way to think about your life and not to be manipulated by the narratives of the wicked politicians we have in Nigeria and Africa. So, before we continue, I would like to just crave your indulgence. If you've not subscribed to our channel, please do well to do so. And if you have done so already, thank you very much. We appreciate you. We don't take your support for granted. That's part of what is still keeping us here, encouraging us to do more on what we are doing. So let's go into what we have today. We have been trying to educate people here that Nigeria is not a country and they should stop fooling themselves thinking that that place is a country. It is a business enterprise of Britain, Europe, and America. And the earlier we begin to ask to go back to what we were before the white man came, the better it will be for us and the quicker it will be for us as well, because nobody in that enclave is living the full life of what is known as a citizen. There is nobody living in Nigeria today that enjoys what is called the right of a citizen of a country. Nobody. There is damn no person. So the earlier we begin to ask in unison, as many persons as possible begin to talk about that we were existing as different peoples until the Europeans came and colonized us. We were living comfortably. We had no problem. We didn't ask them to come and help us out because we had no problem. All right, we had no political problem, no economic problem. We were taking good care of ourselves until they came and contracted us into that deadly contraction called Nigeria. The Yorubas were existing as Oduduwa people. The Northerners were existing as Hausas and different tribes or ethnic nationalities. And the Igbos were existing. We had our traditional rulers, and that was how we were living, and we were comfortable. All right. Other ethnic nationalities there were many of us, and there was just no problem. So the earlier we begin to ask to go back, to demand to go back to that status quo, the better for us. Otherwise, we will continue to live in some kind of dreamland, in some kind of mirage that will not produce anything good for anybody. The only thing we see that is flourishing very well in Nigeria is criminality and corruption. Those are the things that are flourishing in Nigeria. And we are going to prove that to us just right now. Now, look at this. Listen to this, our sister. All right. By the way she speaks, she sounds very much like a very reasonable person, but as a one Nigerianist still. So something is still lacking in her, but at least she's making point. So listen, for you to know the extent of depreciation that has that has gone on, that has happened in that country and is still happening. No other country in the world today is depreciating and deteriorating the way Nigeria is doing. There is nothing that shows that that place is a country. And the earlier we dismantle it and everybody goes their separate way, the better for us. For goodness sake, when we talk about Biafra, some people will jump out and say, you will not have that year Biafra. You don't know that the more you continue to defend Nigeria, the more you put your life in danger, in a very grave risk. You don't know that. Now listen. Okay, so we're going to just give me some moment. I can't hear what this our sister is saying. So let me know where the problem is actually coming from. All right. So I'm going to pause it and start afresh again, and we shall be listening to her for you to see what they call a country. Huh? What they call a country. Whether this is how a country functions.
Today, I want to ask a simple but serious question. Who is speaking for Nigeria in the world right now? Who represents Nigeria in Washington, in London, in Berlin, in Beijing? The answer is no one. And that is not an accident, it is a choice, a reflection of a government that has lost focus, centralized power, and abandoned Nigeria's voice on the international stage. In September 2023,
Listen, September 2023, what happened?
President Tinubu recalled all 109 Nigerian ambassadors,
So all the 109 Nigerian ambassadors were recalled. Tinubu did that. And since then, what has happened?
both career and political.
Mhm,
That is over 100 diplomatic posts emptied at once.
mhm.
Fine. Maybe that was part of cleaning house. But here is the problem. Up until today, August 2025, nearly
Remember, this is August 2025, okay? Thereabouts 2 years.
2 years, no new ambassadors have been appointed. What that means is Nigeria, the so called giant of Africa,
Giant of Africa, my foot. Nonsensical giant of Africa that cannot produce anything.
has no official voice in key countries. The foreign minister, Yusuf Tuga, even admitted that names of nominees were submitted to the president long ago, but Tinubu has refused to act.
Hmm.
Why? Reasons best known to him. Everything must come from the bedroom in Lagos or the villa in Abuja. This is not leadership. This is dictatorship by silence. You might ask, what's the big deal about ambassadors? Well, ambassadors are your nation's face abroad. They are the ones who secure trade deals, negotiate international support, protect Nigerian citizens abroad,
Mhm.
represent Nigeria in security talks and
Yeah.
global crises. With no ambassadors, Nigeria is mute. No one to push for our interests, no one to respond to global issues.
Anyway, this our sister is saying that with no ambassador, Nigeria is nobody to speak for our interests. But what she has failed to even acknowledge is the fact that even while the ambassadors were there, nobody was speaking for Nigerians. The truth is that no Nigerian enjoys the right of citizenship. That is the right of a citizen of any country. Nigerians are just like sheep without a shepherd. All right. That's why each time you see that Nigerians are facing some kind of crisis in foreign countries, it is very difficult for Nigeria to react. Most of the times, it is individuals that make the moves to help the Nigerians that are in trouble abroad. Nigeria has no care, nothing to offer to her citizens. I can't even imagine what Nigeria has done for any citizen except what they do for themselves there at Abuja. I mean, for the politicians. They are just the ones that are sharing, looting and sharing the resources of that country among themselves. And that's not how a country functions. That is not a country, but a corrupt system. Listen up.
That affect us. Countries without ambassadors are seen as unserious, and that is how Nigeria is being perceived
Of
right
course,
now. You
Nigeria
want to
is an
prove that
unserious
Nigeria is
country.
becoming irrelevant under President Tinubu? Look at Donald Trump. In July 2025,
Listen, July 2025, just last month, okay? Listen.
Trump invited 5 African presidents to a high level meeting from Senegal, Gabon, Liberia, Guinea Bissau, and Mauritania. But Nigeria was not invited.
Nigeria was visibly absent. Nigeria wasn't invited, okay? Why? Listen up.
That is not just political. This is symbolic. It shows that Nigeria is no longer a diplomatic priority, even
Mhm.
to former global powers. Why?
Good.
Because Nigeria has no ambassador in Washington, no one lobbying, no one speaking, no one building bridges. And Tinubu is too busy playing internal politics,
Mhm.
preparing for re election, and
Good. His priority is how to become to succeed himself in 2027. After all, what did they do? Nothing. You see, Nigeria is just an enterprise where politicians, keep taking up positions turn by turn. This person comes, the other person says, "Oh, it's my turn." The next turn is my turn, and that was how Tinubu came into power. Remember when he said that Amy Lokan, that is, it is my turn to become the president. He had no agenda. That's what is playing out right now. All right. And because other people have been ruling two tenures, he should also rule two tenures. So what's his problem? What is his headache about appointing ambassadors? The truth is that even if they appoint ambassadors today, what it simply means is that they've created offices for their political jobbers, their political loyalists, and those people will go there and continue to loot as well. Because when the ambassadors were there, Nigeria wasn't even better. All right. So what makes Nigeria not being respected in the international scene is not necessarily the issue of the ambassadors is part of it. All right, but not necessarily that. Nigeria is just typically unserious, only thriving in corruption, insecurity, supporting criminality. No other country out there can take such a horrible country serious. Nigeria is not a country, it's a dangerous, deadly enclave. The number of people who lose their lives in Nigeria on a daily basis is very staggering. Not even war-torn countries experience such a level of loss of life.
Running the country like a private WhatsApp group. Ministers are figureheads. Even decisions like appointing ambassadors are stuck because one man refuses to delegate.
Mhm.
This is a one man show, and Nigeria is suffering from it. It is a sign of weak administration, not one that empowers, builds institutions, or listens to experts. Instead, it is selfish, centralized, and short sighted. You cannot claim to be building a nation when your country has no voice abroad. You cannot claim to be fighting for Nigeria when you've silenced Nigeria abroad. Tinubu's administration is not focused on development, diplomacy, or governance.
Of course, there is no plan for development. What is Tinubu going to develop? What has he even started developing at all? They are planning to sell the refineries. Is that development? Today, Nigeria is importing oil from the United States. Is that development? That is retrogression. It's not progress. It is retrogression. All right. That is Tinubu for you. He said, Emilokan, it is just his turn to be in Aso Rock. Whatever goes is entirely anybody's business if he cares.
It is focused on 2027. This is not just a
2027.
mistake, it is a betrayal of the Nigerian people. Nigeria deserves a government that represents us home and abroad. And
Well, unfortunately, in 2027, you will still see people that will support him. Of course, political jobbers who just want to benefit something from him. Okay. That's how it keeps going. And it's a vicious cycle. The earlier reasonable people begin to talk about separation, the better for us. We are going to the next message and the next news. Look at it. This man is called Emeka Anyoko. He was one time the Secretary General of what do they call this criminal organization set up by UK, Commonwealth. Yeah, the nonsensical Commonwealth which UK used to steal resources from African countries, Nigeria, Ghana, and so on. So Emeka Anyako was once the Secretary General. Today, things are beginning to get clearer to these old men, and it's unfortunate that it is at this their very old age that they are beginning to be, to see things clearly. All right, to see things clearly. Now, what did he say? He said, not even Angel Gabriel can fix Nigeria's problem with 1999 constitution. What Emeka Anyoko is not saying is that even if you change this 1999 constitution, not even Angel Gabriel can change Nigeria's situation. Do you know why? The reason is that Nigeria's problem is not just a constitutional problem. He made a point somewhere that that Nigeria's problem does not depend on change of the political office holders. That is one. It is correct. But he thinks that if you change the constitution, things will get better. Who is going to implement the constitution? Is it not the same criminal politicians? Once somebody is a criminal, he's a criminal. Once somebody is corrupt, he is corrupt. You give him something that is clean, he will make it dirty and corrupt because he himself is very corrupt. So change this constitution to any kind of constitution you like and give it to these same corrupt politicians who only see Nigeria as a means of making money for their children and children's children. Once you give them such a document, they will corrupt it. They won't obey the provisions of the law in it. They will mess it up and the system will remain what it is. That is the truth. That's the truth of the matter. Okay, for instance, there are laws already existing in the Constitution of Nigeria, some of which are even good. Okay, for instance, we know in Nigeria that the law says the 1999 Constitution provides somewhere that if you arrest somebody, you can't like if the police arrest somebody, the police has no right to detain the person beyond 24 hours without charging him to court. But recently, they arrested Showore and put him in police detention, and Showore remained there incommunicado for more than 24 hours. And when his lawyers went there to talk to the police were just busy telling him that all the necessary procedures that need to be followed are being followed. Why would you say that? So this is all we are talking about. There is this provision in the 1999 Constitution that you shouldn't detain somebody beyond 24 hours without charging him to court. But they detain Showore for more than 24 hours. This is just an example. There are several of such. Okay, so the 1999 Constitution is a mess on its own. But even at that, the little provisions of the 1999 Constitution are not even being obeyed by the politicians because they are corrupt themselves. So Emeka Anyoku is just waking up from slumber today to know that not even Angel Gabriel can fix Nigeria's problem with 1999 Constitution. But I want to complete it for him, to make it more inclusive for him because he seems not to understand, or maybe he's just trying to sound politically correct because that's what they keep doing, sounding politically correct. So Emeka Anyoko, Papa Emeka Anyoko, even if you change this 1999 Constitution to anything you think, and give it to the same politicians we see in Nigeria today, they are going to mess it up and still make the country corrupt. All right? Because they are corrupt people themselves. Very, very corrupt. Are you getting it? So Nigeria has a foundational problem. The way Nigeria was contracted was criminal. Britain contracted Nigeria as a very corrupt enterprise for themselves. That is the problem of Nigeria. So there is no amount of constitution that is going to make Nigeria to be a better place. So Emeka Nyoko, I want to greet you good morning for waking up, right? Good morning, but you are still half awake and half asleep because you don't know that that constitution doesn't mean anything to the politicians. So let's proceed. Now, this is another news. In this news, we see the IG of police, Egbetokun, his female orderly, ASP Yemisi, was promoted to DSP without writing or passing promotion exams. You see what we are talking about. Now, there is a law on ground that says that police officers who are to be promoted to a certain rank have to write an exam, promotion exam, and pass it. But in this case, the orderly of Egbetokun was promoted to DSP without writing or passing the exam. So this is what we're talking about. Make the law anyhow you like it and give it to a corrupt person. The corrupt person will make the law corrupt. Okay, so look at it. A senior police officer told Sahara reporters that Yemisi was promoted from 1 star ASP to 3 stars DSP without going through the required procedure. I think this is part of the petitions Cho route that put him in police detention recently. So the Inspector General of Police IGP Kayode Egbetokun has been accused of promoting a female officer Yemisi Ademosu from an assistant superintendent of police ASP to a deputy superintendent of police DSP without her sitting for or passing the mandatory promotion examination. That is Nigeria, the corrupt enterprise called Nigeria for you. This is a bit from the IGP. All right. And meanwhile, remember that this man, according to the law, he's supposed to have been retired. He has served out his time and is supposed to have been retired, but he's still in the office till today. It is still part of what we are talking about. So make it 1999 constitution or change it to whatever you think. Corrupt people will still make it corrupt. So Nigeria is a corrupt enterprise, and that is why it is not receiving respect from the rest of the world. The world is disrespecting Nigeria because of its corrupt tendencies and activities. What is this one? It's about Trump. Trump moves to slam $15,000 bond on Nigerian visa applications over poor database of citizens. Okay, what is this news about? Trump says that there are some countries that don't have good database, and when they apply for US visas, they use the visa to commit some kind of crime or overstay their welcome in the United States. And Nigeria is a major country that Trump mentioned. In fact, in the news, he didn't mention other countries. I only saw Nigeria in the news in this gazette. But we are not going to be reading the news. I will just summarize it for you because of time. So what is Trump saying? Trump is saying that if you are Nigerian, if you are applying for US visa with Nigeria international passport, you are going to drop between 5,000 to between 5,000 and $15,000 in bond. That is, you keep it as a collateral with United States, and then they give you the visa. When you enter the United States, they will keep that if you are able to stay there without causing trouble, and if you are able to leave the United States before the expiration of your visa, then they will return your money to you. But if you violate the rule, your money will go. And of course, if they catch you, they will punish you on top of that. This is the problem that Nigerians are now facing. It is only people from a non-state country that are treated this way. And what has Nigeria done about that? Of course, nothing. And what is the problem? The problem is poor database of citizens. Look at it. Because if a Nigerian commits a crime, it is difficult to track him because Nigeria doesn't even have a good database system. That is a place they call country, and of course they nickname it what do they call it? Giant of Africa, nonsensical giant of Africa. People are talking about how difficult it is to survive in Nigeria. Things are becoming very difficult ever since this man you see here assumed power, this Tinubu you see here. Meanwhile, remember, this man is a drug lord, confirmed drug lord in the United States. The United States is also using him to play chess with Nigeria. Okay, today they will say, FBI will say, hey, we want to release his record, and he will go and bribe United States, or he will agree with them. Oh, I will give you this mineral resource. Please leave my case alone, and they will drop it. So they are playing hanky panky, and playing corruption with his case, a very serious case in the United States. So this man is a drug lord. He's not a clean person. He's a very corrupt individual ruling Nigeria today. Now, Nigeria is very deep in debt already. This news says Nigeria's debt surges past 99 trillion naira as Tinubu secures fresh $25.3 million loan from Kuwait. This time around, they have borrowed and borrowed and borrowed from country to country, from international organization to another. Now they are going to borrow from Kuwait this time around. And they are borrowing $25.3 million now, while the debt the debt burden is already 99 trillion naira. I didn't do the conversion before now, but this is a lot of money, all right? This is a lot of money in billions of dollars. This money is already past 99 trillion naira. So what are they doing with this loan? People, I have made a video here sometime in the past where Senate was talking about these loans they borrow. They borrow this loan and you don't see any commensurate people-oriented program or contracts or projects they carry out with the loan. The next thing you see is that the money has fizzled into the pockets of the politicians. This is what they do. He will share the loan, the money between the executive and the legislature. All right, because it is the legislature that approves the loan. So the Senate and House of Rep will just approve the loan and then tell him, you see, Oga, if the money comes, please give us so percent to, and they agree on the percentage they will share to them, and then they will just rubber stamp the loan, bam, and then he will go and borrow. And after borrowing, he will give them their share. The Senate President, what's his name, Akpabio, and the rest of them, they will take their share, and the Speaker House of Rep, they will collect their shares, and then Tinubu and the rest of them, his political jobbers, they will collect their own, and the money finishes. And Nigeria's debt burden increases. Who is going to pay this money? Tomorrow he will turn around and tell you that he's increasing tax. This is the level of decay that is going on in Nigerian system. And that is why we are calling on all and sundry to begin now to speak up for Nigeria to be split so that people can live their lives as citizens whichever country they form for themselves, be it Oduduwa, be it Biafra, be it Arewa, whichever one. Go there and form your country. And if you are from Biafra, I want to speak to you specifically. Begin now to support your freedom. If you say you are not Biafra, that does not exclude you from being a Biafra. You are still a Biafran. You are just deceiving yourself. And the longer you continue to stay in Nigeria, the more you continue to suffer this nonsense and lack of regard in the international space. Once you carry Nigeria's passport, you have no respect once you cross Nigeria's border. Your respect is brought to zero. Okay? You can only regain your respect when you find yourself in your own homogeneous country where you do things in such a way that the rest of the world will begin to respect you. Nigeria was not designed to succeed as a country. It was designed to fail in order for Europe and America and other countries like that to succeed by stealing our resources, all right, and using it to enrich their countries. So if you know what is good for you, begin now to talk about your freedom. Your freedom is more important than whatever you think you are benefiting from Nigeria today. Whatever you're benefiting from Nigeria today is just suffering. It is just crumbs. All right. You better begin to use your head. That is what we stand for in this channel. So thank you very much for listening, and do well to come back for more news because we continue to dish them out as they come. Thank you and have a nice day. Bye for now.